What a Roman soldier witnessed on the night of April 5th, 33 AD will shatter everything you believe about Jesus' resurrection. Before this story ends, you'll understand why the Vatican kept this testimony locked away for nearly 2,000 years, and you'll discover the extraterrestrial truth that religious institutions have desperately tried to hide. If you're ready to learn what really happened at that empty tomb, a truth that will change not just your faith, but your understanding of humanity's place in the cosmos, subscribe to Stories of Light and activate the bell. Because what Gaius Cassius Longinus recorded in his final testimony before his mysterious disappearance reveals a cosmic intervention that churches have called heresy, but which may be the greatest truth ever concealed from mankind. Now let me tell you how this forbidden document came to light and what it means for everything you thought you knew.
My name is Dr. Sarah Castellano, and I'm a Vatican archivist and paleographer specializing in 1st century Roman military documents. For 15 years, I worked in the deepest levels of the Vatican's secret archives, what we now call the Vatican Apostolic Archive, cataloging fragments of history that most people will never see. I need to tell you about March 3rd, 2019. That was the day everything I believed about history, about faith, about reality itself began to unravel. I was in Vault 7, Section 12, one of the restricted areas requiring special papal permission to access. The air down there is controlled, perfectly preserved at 18 degrees Celsius, with exactly 55% humidity. It smells like ancient leather and something else, something metallic and strange that I could never quite identify. The fluorescent lights buzz constantly, and you're surrounded by shelf after shelf of documents that span 2 millennia of human history. I was cataloging a collection of Roman military correspondence from the 1st century, routine reports, supply requisitions, discipline records. Tedious work, but necessary. Each document had to be photographed, translated, dated, and cross-referenced with known historical records. Then I found it. It was folded inside what appeared to be a standard military dispatch from Jerusalem, dated to April 7th, 33 AD. But when I carefully unfolded the parchment using the specialized tools we employ for the most fragile documents, I realized this was something entirely different. The handwriting was shaking, erratic. The ink had been applied with such pressure in places that it had torn through the parchment, and the Latin was wrong, not grammatically incorrect, but stylistically chaotic, as if the writer had been in extreme psychological distress. The header identified the author, Gaius Cassius Longinus, Centurion, Legio 10 Fretensis, Jerusalem Garrison. My hands trembled as I began to translate. The document wasn't a military report. It was a personal testimony, a confession really. And it described events from the night of April 5th, 2 days before the official date on the outer dispatch. According to historical records, this was the date that would become known as the resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth. I should have reported it immediately to my superior, Cardinal Benedetti. Protocol demanded it, but something in those opening lines stopped me. I write this knowing I will be called mad. I write this knowing it may cost me my life, but I must record what I witnessed, for if I do not, the truth of that night will die with me, and humanity will never understand what truly occurred at the tomb of the Nazarene. I read through the night. My supervisor had left hours earlier. The archive was empty except for the ever-present security cameras and the weight of 2,000 years of secrets pressing down from above. What Gaius Cassius Longinus described in that testimony defied everything I had been taught in seminary, everything I had studied in my doctorate program, everything the Church had proclaimed for 2 millennia. But it also explained things, anomalies in the gospel accounts, contradictions between the different resurrection narratives, details that scholars had argued about for centuries. By dawn, I had photographed every page with my personal camera, a violation of about a dozen Vatican regulations, and I had also made the decision that would end my career and begin a journey into a truth far stranger than I could have imagined. Because three things were immediately clear to me. First, this document was authentic. The parchment, the ink composition, the linguistic patterns, everything matched other verified first-century Roman military documents. Carbon dating, which I later arranged through a contact at the University of Rome, confirmed it. 30 to 40 AD, margin of error plus or minus 15 years. Second, the Vatican knew about this document. It had been carefully preserved, deliberately hidden, and strategically archived in a location where only a handful of people would ever access it. The outer dispatch was mundane enough that no one would think to look inside, but someone had placed it there. Someone had protected it while simultaneously concealing it. Third, what Gaius Cassius Longinus described that night was not a miracle in the traditional sense. It was something else entirely. Something that modern UFO researchers would recognize immediately, but which first-century observers could only interpret through the limited framework of their time. I need you to understand something about the Vatican archives. Despite what conspiracy theories suggest, most of what's there isn't hidden because it's scandalous. It's hidden because it's boring, or because it contains sensitive diplomatic information, or because it's simply too fragile for public handling. But there are exceptions. There are documents that are kept restricted, not because of historical sensitivity, but because of theological implications. Materials that would challenge official church doctrine, evidence of things that the institutional church has decided humanity isn't ready to know. This testimony was one of those exceptions. I spent 2 weeks conducting quiet research, cross-referencing Gaius's account with other historical sources. I discovered that Gaius Cassius Longinus was a real person, a centurion stationed in Jerusalem during the period of Jesus' crucifixion. Some traditions identify him as the soldier who pierced Jesus' side with a spear, though this isn't confirmed in historical records. What is confirmed is that Longinus disappeared from all military records after April 33 AD. No discharge papers, no transfer orders, no death certificate. He simply vanished from history as if he had never existed. Until now. I had assumed this was simply a gap in the historical record, a common occurrence for a regular soldier. But the testimony suggested something else entirely. In the final pages, Gaius wrote, "They have come for me, the same ones I saw at the tomb. They tell me I cannot remain, that I have seen too much, that I must come with them. I do not know if I will ever return to the world of men. If you are reading this, know that what I witnessed was real. Know that we are not alone, and know that the one called Jesus was far more than any of us understood." On March 17, 2019, I was called into Cardinal Benedetti's office. He was an elderly man, sharp-eyed despite his 83 years, with the kind of penetrating gaze that made you feel like you could see directly into your soul. "Dr. Castellano," he said slowly, "it has come to my attention that you accessed materials in Vault 7, Section 12. My heart stopped. Specifically, a document dated April 7th, 33 AD. A document that you then photographed without authorization." I said nothing. There was nothing to say. He leaned forward. "What did you find?" "The truth," I replied. He nodded slowly, as if he had expected this answer. "And what are you going to do with this truth?" "I don't know yet." He stood, walked to his window overlooking St. Peter's Square. Thousands of tourists moved like ants below, pilgrims seeking connection to something greater than themselves, never knowing what secrets were housed in the building above them. The Church has protected that document for 1900 years. 47 scholars have accessed it during that time. All but 3 chose to leave it buried. Those 3? He paused. Those 3 are no longer with us. Are you threatening me, Your Eminence? He turned, and his expression was impossible to read. I'm telling you that some truths are protected not because they're false, but because they're too true, too dangerous, too capable of shattering the foundations upon which billions of people build their understanding of reality. And if I believe people deserve to know, Cardinal Benedetti returned to his desk, sat down heavily. Then you will learn what Gaius Cassius Longinus learned, that some knowledge comes with a price, and that some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. That night, I resigned from my position at the Vatican archives. I left Rome with nothing but the photographs of that testimony and a growing certainty that my life was about to change in ways I couldn't yet imagine. Because what Gaius witnessed that night was not just the greatest mystery in Christian history, it was first contact, and it happened 2,000 years before anyone was ready to understand it.
What follows is my translation of Gaius Cassius Longinus's testimony, preserved here exactly as he wrote it. I've maintained his voice, his style, even his occasional lapses into emotional outbursts. This is what he recorded in those final hours before he vanished from history. My name is Gaius Cassius Longinus, Centurion of the 10th Legion, Fretensis Division, assigned to the Jerusalem garrison under the authority of Pontius Pilate, Prefect of Judea. I write this on the 7th day of April, in the year 786 ab urbe condita, 2 nights after witnessing events that no rational mind could accept, that no traditional faith can explain, and that I fear will haunt me for whatever remains of my days in this world or beyond it. I am a soldier. I have fought in Gaul. I have killed men in Germania. I have watched cities burn and heard the screams of the dying in a dozen languages. I tell you this not to boast, but so you understand. I am not a man given to fantasy or superstition. I worship the old gods as tradition demands, but without true belief. I trust in my sword, my shield, and the discipline of Roman military order. What I witnessed has shattered that foundation entirely. The night was April 5th. I had been assigned, along with a unit of 8 men, to guard the tomb of Jesus of Nazareth, the rabbi who had been crucified 2 days prior for sedition against Rome. The Jewish authorities, particularly the Pharisees, had petitioned Pilate for a Roman guard. They feared the man's followers would steal the body and claim he had risen from death, as he had apparently prophesied. Pilate, weary of the entire affair, had agreed. Thus I found myself stationed at a limestone tomb carved into a hillside outside Jerusalem's walls, in a garden belonging to a wealthy Jew named Joseph of Arimathea. The tomb had been sealed with a massive circular stone. It had taken 6 men to roll it into place, and we had affixed the prefect's seal upon it. Roman law made the punishment for breaking such a seal immediate execution. No follower of the Nazarene would dare. My men were typical soldiers, grumbling about the assignment, making crude jokes, playing dice in the dirt. Marcus, my optio, my second in command, kept them in reasonable order. The night was clear, the moon nearly full, perfect visibility. Nothing could approach without our knowledge, or so I believed. It began at the third watch, what you would call approximately 2 a.m. The air changed first. I noticed it before I could explain it. The temperature dropped rapidly, the kind of sudden cold that makes your breath visible even on a warm spring night. Then the silence. Jerusalem is never truly quiet. Even at night you hear dogs, the occasional shout from a distant street, the flutter of birds. But suddenly, all sound ceased, completely, as if the entire world had been wrapped in wool. Marcus noticed it too. I saw him stand, his hand moving instinctively to his gladius. The other men sensed something was wrong. Soldiers develop an instinct for danger, and the dice game stopped. That's when we saw the light. How do I describe it? It wasn't like torchlight or moonlight or lightning. It was white, but not white. It had colors within it that I have no names for. It descended from the sky, slowly, deliberately, making no sound whatsoever. At first, I thought it was a meteor, but meteors fall. This was controlled, intelligent. It moved with purpose. "Hold positions," I commanded, though my voice sounded strange in that absolute silence. "Weapons ready." The light grew brighter as it descended, until it illuminated the entire hillside as if it were midday. But there were no shadows. This is the detail that still disturbs me most. There were no shadows. When you hold a torch, you cast a shadow. When the sun shines, everything has a shadow. But this light, it came from everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. The light touched down perhaps 20 paces from the tomb entrance. And then it opened. I have no better word. It opened like a doorway, and something emerged. I was standing. Then I was on my knees. I don't remember falling. All 8 of my men were on the ground, some face down, some curled into balls, one praying loudly to Jupiter in a voice cracked with terror. The being that emerged from that light was approximately the height of a tall man, perhaps 6 feet. But the proportions were wrong. The torso was elongated, thin, almost fragile in appearance. The limbs were longer than they should be, arms that reached nearly to the knees. But it was the head that locked my gaze and held it like a physical force. It was larger than a human head, perhaps 1.5 times the size, shaped like an inverted teardrop. The skin, if it was skin, was pale gray, luminescent, with a texture I cannot adequately describe. Smooth, but not quite, as if it was covered in impossibly fine scales or existed slightly out of phase with normal matter. The eyes. Gods forgive me. The eyes. They were enormous, almond-shaped, completely black, except for what looked like stars reflected within their depths. But there were no stars above us. Those points of light were somehow inside the eyes themselves. When it looked at you, and it looked at each of us in turn, you felt it inside your mind, not threatening, not gentle, simply aware, comprehensively, impossibly aware. The being wore no clothing that I could see. The body simply existed, unadorned, functional. There was no sense of gender, no genitalia visible, nothing that indicated whether it was male or female or something else entirely. It moved towards the tomb. Each step made no sound. I noticed it left no footprints in the dust. "Stand and fight," some distant part of my training screamed. but my body wouldn't obey. None of us could move. It wasn't paralysis exactly. I could breathe. I could blink. I could feel my heart hammering in my chest. But rising, attacking, fleeing, these were simply impossible, as if the very concept of movement had been temporarily removed from our capacity. The being approached the sealed tomb. It raised one hand, 3 fingers and a thumb, I noted with the strange observational detachment that comes with extreme terror, and pointed at the massive stone. The stone moved. Not rolled, not lifted, it simply moved aside, as if it weighed nothing, as if gravity itself had been temporarily suspended. There was a grinding sound, the only sound we'd heard since this began, and then the entrance was clear. The being entered the tomb. For perhaps 3 minutes, though time felt elastic, uncertain, there was nothing, just that impossible light flooding from the open entrance and the absolute silence pressing down on us like a physical weight. Then the being emerged, and it was not alone. I need you to understand, I saw the Nazarene die. I was there at Golgotha. I watched him breathe his last. I saw the spear wound in his side. I watched them wrap his body and carry it to this very tomb. I know what death looks like. I have caused it many times. The figure that emerged behind the being was Jesus of Nazareth. But it was also not. He looked younger than when he died. The wounds were gone. His skin had a faint luminescence similar to the being's, though less pronounced. He was wrapped in white linen, but he moved like a living man, breathing, blinking, turning his head to look at us with an expression I can only describe as profound compassion mixed with something like sadness. The being turned to face us, and then it spoke. It didn't use a mouth. It had no mouth that I could see.
The words simply appeared inside our minds, simultaneously, all of us hearing the same thing in our native languages. I heard Latin. Marcus told me later he heard Greek. One of the younger soldiers swore he heard it in Aramaic. 2 words, just 2 words, but they shattered the foundations of everything I thought I understood about life, death, and the nature of reality itself. He lives. The light intensified. I had to shield my eyes, though it caused no pain, just overwhelming brilliance that seemed to penetrate through closed eyelids, through raised hands, through everything. When the light faded, and it faded as suddenly as it had appeared, both the being and the Nazarene were gone. The tomb entrance stood open. The stone rested to one side, and we were alone in the garden with the sound of the world slowly returning, dogs barking in the distance, a rooster crowing prematurely, the wind rustling through olive trees. Marcus spoke first. What in the name of all the gods was that? I had no answer. I still don't. We searched the tomb, empty. The burial cloths were there, neatly folded, which struck me as an odd detail. If thieves had stolen the body, they wouldn't have unwrapped it first, and they certainly wouldn't have folded the linens. We searched the garden. No footprints except our own. No sign of any human presence. No indication that anyone had approached the tomb through conventional means. As the sun began to rise, I knew we faced an impossible situation. We were duty-bound to report to Pilate. But what could we report? That we had witnessed what? Divine intervention? Sorcery? An invasion from where? The sky? The gods? I had no vocabulary for what I had seen. I still don't.
We reported to Pilate at dawn. I told him exactly what we had witnessed, leaving out no detail, regardless of how impossible it sounded. I had always been an honest soldier, I saw no reason to start lying now, even if the truth made me sound insane. Pilate listened in silence, his expression unreadable. When I finished, he sat quietly for what felt like an eternity. "Centurion," he finally said, "I am going to ask you a question, and I need you to answer with absolute honesty. Were you and your men drunk?" "No, Prefect." "Did you fall asleep at your post?" "No, Prefect." "Did the followers of the Nazarene bribe you to allow them to steal the body?" "No, Prefect." He stood, walked to his window overlooking the Antonia Fortress courtyard. "Then explain to me, Centurion, how I am supposed to report this to Rome. Explain to me how I tell the Emperor that a convicted criminal not only rose from the dead, but was apparently collected by, what did you call it, a being of light?" "I cannot explain it, Prefect. I can only tell you what I witnessed." He turned back to me. "The Jewish authorities are already spreading word that his disciples stole the body. They've offered to pay you and your men to confirm this story." "We will not lie, sir. Even if the alternative is that everyone believes you were derelict in your duty, even if the alternative is execution for losing a prisoner's body, even then." Pilate made his decision. He paid us well, actually, and commanded us to tell the official story. We had fallen asleep, and the disciples had stolen the body while we slept. He made it clear this was not a suggestion. But he also did something strange. He assigned me to a new detail, a special unit that investigated unusual occurrences in the province. I didn't understand at first. Then I realized Pilate knew something. He wasn't surprised by my report. Disturbed, yes. Concerned, absolutely, but not surprised. "This isn't the first time you've heard of such things," I said. He looked at me sharply. "There are stories, Centurion, old stories from Egypt, from Samaria, from Greece, stories of sky people, gods descending in chariots of fire, beings of light who interact with humanity for purposes we cannot comprehend. Rome has been collecting these reports for centuries. And we've learned to be very careful about how we discuss them publicly. The people need their gods to be distant, mysterious, and safely contained within temples. They don't need to know that sometimes the gods are real, and sometimes they're not gods at all." Over the following weeks, I investigated. I spoke with the Nazarene's followers, those who weren't hiding in fear of Jewish authorities or Roman justice. I heard their accounts of seeing him alive after his death. Their descriptions matched what I had witnessed. He appeared suddenly in locked rooms. He vanished inexplicably. He had an otherworldly quality that was and was not the man they had known. I spoke with Mary of Magdala, one of his closest followers. She described encountering him at the tomb that same morning just after sunrise. She said he looked different, that at first she didn't recognize him. When I pressed for details, she used a word that made my blood run cold: luminous. She said, like he was lit from within, like he was becoming something else. I spoke with two of his followers who claimed they walked with him for hours on the road to Emmaus, not recognizing him until they broke bread with him in a particular way. They said when they finally realized who he was, he vanished from their sight. Not walked away, not left through a door. Vanished. These weren't the accounts of liars or madmen. These were simple people, fishermen and merchants and farmers, describing experiences that matched precisely what I had witnessed, but lacked any framework to explain.
3 weeks after that night, I had my second encounter.
I was alone in my quarters at the Antonia fortress, transcribing reports, when the air changed in exactly the same way it had at the tomb. That sudden cold, that absolute silence, that sense of being observed by an intelligence so vast it makes you feel like an insect under scrutiny. The light appeared in the corner of my room, the same doorway opening, the same being emerging. This time, I didn't fall to my knees. Terror, yes, but also curiosity. If it wanted me dead, I would already be dead. It had made that clear at the tomb. It possessed power so far beyond human capacity that resistance was meaningless. It moved closer, those massive black eyes fixed on me, and then it communicated. Not in words this time, but in concepts, images, understanding that appeared fully formed in my mind. I saw Earth from above, from a distance no human had ever achieved. I saw it as a small blue sphere floating in an infinite darkness, one world among countless worlds, one humanity among countless forms of intelligence scattered across the cosmos. I saw beings like this one and others, so many others, shapes and forms I couldn't begin to describe, watching humanity, guiding us, occasionally intervening, not as gods, but as what? Gardeners? Teachers? Shepherds? I saw that the one called Jesus was not unique in the universe, but unique to Earth, that he was what they called the first human to successfully complete a transformation, an evolution, a graduation into something more than merely human. I saw that his death and return were not miracles in the supernatural sense. They were demonstrations, proof of concept, evidence that human consciousness could transcend physical death, that we were more than flesh and bone, that we possessed a capacity for existence beyond anything our limited understanding could grasp. And I saw why this knowledge was dangerous, because humanity wasn't ready. We were children playing with swords, apes with delusions of godhood, barely evolved primates who still solved most problems through violence and dominance. If we knew the truth, if we understood that consciousness could transcend death, that reality was far stranger than our myths suggested, that we were being watched and guided by intelligences beyond our comprehension, we would either worship these beings as gods, which they were not, or fight them, which would be suicidal. But we would not learn, would not grow, would not evolve. The being communicated one final concept: patience. Humanity needed time, centuries, perhaps millennia, to mature, to develop the wisdom necessary to join the larger galactic community. Jesus was the seed, the template, the promise of what we could become, but seeds need time to grow. Then it transmitted something that I didn't understand then, but I understand now. You have seen, you cannot remain. That was 3 days ago. Since then, I've felt them watching, waiting. The light appears at the edges of my vision. I hear the silence approaching even when I'm in crowded streets. They're coming for me. I know this with absolute certainty. I don't know what they intend. I don't know if I'll live or die, if I'll remain on Earth or be taken somewhere beyond human understanding, but I cannot stay. I have seen too much. I represent a dangerous knowledge, a contamination of the timeline they're carefully managing. So I write this and hide it, hoping that someday, when humanity is ready, someone will find it and understand. We are not alone. We have never been alone. The one you call Jesus was the bridge between what we are and what we can become.
His resurrection was real, but not in the way your religions will teach it. He didn't defeat death through divine power bestowed from an external God. He transcended death through understanding of consciousness itself, through mastery of principles that beings from other worlds have long since learned. He was the first human to graduate. He will not be the last, but you have a very long journey ahead of you before you're ready to join those who wait for you among the stars. They are here. The light is growing in my room as I write these final words. I feel no fear now, only curiosity and a strange sense of honor that I was chosen to witness this, to record it, to serve as a bridge between ages. If you are reading this, know that what I have written is true, every word, every impossible detail. And know that the universe is far stranger, far more magnificent, and far more full of hope than any human religion has dared to imagine. Gaius Cassius Longinus, Centurion, April 7th, 33 AD.
After I left the Vatican, I dedicated myself to understanding what Gaius had witnessed. I wasn't alone in this, though I didn't realize it at first. 2 weeks after my resignation, I was contacted by Dr. Michael Harrison, a physicist from Cambridge who specialized in what he called historical anomalies with technological implications. He'd heard through academic channels about my sudden departure from the Vatican, and he wanted to know why. I met him in a cafe in Florence. I showed him the photographs of Gaius's testimony. He read in silence, his coffee growing cold. When he finished, he looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Dr. Castellano," he said carefully, "do you know what the Fermi paradox is? The question of why, if the universe is so vast, we haven't encountered extraterrestrial intelligence? Exactly. But what if they've always been here, just very careful about how they reveal themselves?" He pulled out his laptop, opened a folder filled with documents. I've spent 15 years collecting reports like this. The Sumerian tablets describing the Anunnaki descending from the sky, the Sanskrit texts detailing the manas, flying machines, the Aboriginal Dreamtime stories of sky beings who taught humanity. You're saying these are all connected? I'm saying there's a pattern, and your Roman centurion's testimony fits perfectly. He showed me a Byzantine monk's account from 1054 AD, describing a luminous being during the Crab Nebula supernova. The physical description matched Gaius's testimony almost exactly. He showed me more, Mayan codex describing beings in houses of light, Japanese scrolls from 1235 AD documenting sky ships over Kyoto. The descriptions are too consistent across cultures that had no contact, Harrison said. Same physical characteristics, large heads, elongated bodies, large black eyes, gray skin, telepathic communication. You think Jesus was one of these interventions? I think Jesus was a human being who underwent a transformation these beings facilitated. Your centurion's testimony suggests he went willingly, like it was planned. But why? Harrison leaned forward. Evolution, not biological, consciousness evolution. What was Jesus's core message? Love your enemy, forgive, unity. These aren't just ethics. They're survival requirements for any species developing advanced technology without destroying itself. You're saying they're preventing us from annihilating ourselves? I'm saying they're helping us evolve past our violent nature before we develop technology powerful enough to threaten not just ourselves, but other civilizations. Nuclear weapons were just the beginning. I met with others after Harrison. A scholar from Beijing showed me Han Dynasty records of celestial emissaries teaching meditation techniques. An archaeologist from Peru shared evidence of anomalous artifacts at Nazca, alloys that shouldn't have existed in pre-Columbian South America, found near lines that can only be appreciated from the air. and former Pentagon analyst named Robert Chen contacted me through encrypted channels. He'd worked on the government's UAP task force. He showed me declassified reports documenting objects performing impossible maneuvers, instant acceleration to hypersonic speeds, right-angle turns at velocities that should tear any material apart. The government has known for decades, not just the US, Russia, China, several others. We all have the data. We all know something is here with technology far beyond ours, but we keep it classified and hope we figure it out before we start an interstellar incident. Have they communicated? Occasionally, usually through individuals. The messages are consistent. We're being observed, protected to some degree, but we need to evolve. We need planetary unity before formal contact. And Jesus? Chen pulled up a classified file from 1964. An Air Force colonel interviewed a woman claiming contact with light beings. She described them exactly as your Centurion did. They told her they've been guiding humanity through consciousness ambassadors, individuals who demonstrate spiritual development to inspire others. Jesus was one of these ambassadors? According to her, yes, along with Buddha, Lao Tzu, several others. Individuals appearing at critical moments to shift our trajectory toward less violence, more unity. I spent 6 months investigating, traveling, interviewing, accumulating evidence that would never be accepted by mainstream academia, but which formed a pattern too consistent to dismiss. And then something happened that changed everything. I was in New Mexico, investigating near old Project Blue Book sites, when my car's electrical system died. Everything, engine, lights, radio, just stopped. The air changed, that same cold from Gaius's testimony, that same sense of presence. The light appeared above my car, white with colors I couldn't name, growing brighter, coming closer. I got out. Some instinct told me this was it. The light descended, that doorway opening, the being emerging. It was exactly as Gaius had described, tall, thin, that massive head, those eyes, black depths with stars moving within. It looked at me, into me, through me, and it communicated in complete understanding. You have found the testimony. You understand what it means. Now you must choose. Choose what? Images flooded my mind. Humanity at a crossroads. One path, chaos, as religions fragment. Panic as people realize we're not alone. Conflict over narrative control. The other, gradual awakening. Individuals discovering truth piece by piece. Consciousness evolving naturally. The testimony was preserved but hidden for a reason. Not because truth must never be known, but because it must be discovered when individuals are ready. You found it because you were ready. This is how transformation occurs, individual awakening spreading organically. What did you do with Jesus? The being's response was complex, visual. Jesus' consciousness had evolved, where physical death was merely transition. They facilitated his transformation, showing him how to transcend the body while retaining awareness. He spent time in higher densities, learning, then returned briefly to demonstrate death was not the end. Jesus still exists, beyond physical form, guiding those ready to receive, not as God to worship, but as elder brother showing the path. He was the first of your species to complete this graduation. He will not be the last, but each must walk the path at their own pace. What are you? We are what you will become, given time. Consciousness evolved beyond physical form. We serve as guides, helping younger species navigate the transition from tribal warfare to planetary unity. Why now? Because you asked, because you sought, because you were ready, and because humanity approaches a critical threshold. In the next century, you will either achieve unity to join the galactic community or destroy yourselves. We cannot choose for you, but we provide examples of what's possible." The light began to retract. "Will I see you again?" "When you are ready for the next lesson, we are always there, waiting in spaces between thought and perception." The light vanished. My car came back online. I stood shaking. My worldview simultaneously shattered and expanded. And I understood what Gaius felt writing those final words.
Since that night in New Mexico, now 3 years ago, I've become part of a small, scattered community of researchers, experiencers, and scholars trying to understand the implications of what we've encountered. We don't agree on everything, but certain theories have emerged that attempt to explain the larger pattern. Dr. Harrison, the Cambridge physicist I mentioned earlier, has developed what he calls the guided evolution hypothesis. It goes like this. Advanced civilizations throughout the galaxy have learned that the transition from tribal species to spacefaring civilization is extremely dangerous. Nuclear weapons, artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, nanotechnology. These technologies arrive relatively quickly once a species reaches a certain level of scientific development. But wisdom, genuine wisdom, the kind that prevents self-annihilation, evolves much more slowly. The result is a galaxy littered with dead civilizations that achieved advanced technology before achieving the wisdom to use it responsibly. To address this, more evolved civilizations have developed a strategy: identify developing species at critical moments and provide consciousness teachers, individuals who demonstrate that evolution beyond violence and tribalism is possible. Jesus, Buddha, Lao Tzu, several others throughout history, these weren't divine figures in the supernatural sense. These were humans who had direct contact with more advanced beings and received accelerated consciousness development. Their role was to plant seeds, demonstrate possibilities, shift cultural narratives slightly toward compassion and unity, show that transcendence of the physical is possible, not to force change, but to model it. The resurrection wasn't a supernatural miracle, it was a consciousness technology demonstration. Advanced beings can facilitate the transfer of consciousness from physical to non-physical form, preserving individual identity and awareness. Jesus underwent this process and then reappeared to his followers precisely to demonstrate that death is not the end, that consciousness persists, that human beings possess a nature beyond the merely physical. This demonstration has echoed through history for 2,000 years, slowly shifting how humanity thinks about consciousness, identity, and possibility. Not everyone got the message, clearly, but enough did that our trajectory shifted slightly. Enough that we didn't destroy ourselves in the 20th century when nuclear weapons arrived. Harrison believes we're now approaching another critical threshold. The next century will determine whether we achieve planetary unity or fragment into competing factions that use increasingly dangerous technology against each other. The being I encountered suggested the same thing. We're at a crossroads, and the outcome is not predetermined. Dr. Amara Okoye, a xenobiologist from Nigeria, has a different interpretation. She calls it the quarantine hypothesis, and it's more sobering. According to this theory, Earth is under something like a cosmic quarantine. We're being monitored, occasionally guided, but kept isolated from the larger galactic community because we're still too violent, too tribal, too dangerous to be allowed unrestricted access to interstellar space or advanced technology. The beings Gaius and I encountered, and the one I met, are part of a monitoring system. They ensure we don't develop certain technologies too quickly, that we don't accidentally stumble into interstellar space before we're ready, that we don't inadvertently threaten other civilizations with our still primitive consciousness operating advanced tools. Jesus and others like him were not random teachers. They were part of an active intervention program designed to accelerate our moral and spiritual development to match our accelerating technological capability. The resurrection demonstration was necessary because humanity was approaching a phase where understanding of consciousness persistence would become critical to our not destroying ourselves. Dr. Okoye points to the UFO/UAP sightings that have increased dramatically since 1945, the year we detonated the first nuclear weapon. She believes this is not coincidental. Nuclear weapons represented a threshold, the moment when humanity became capable of planetary-scale destruction. The monitoring intensified because we'd reached a danger point. The quarantine isn't malicious, it's protective, both for us and for the galaxy at large. We're like a child playing with matches in a room full of gasoline. The adults don't want to take the matches away forcibly, that would stunt our development, but they're watching very carefully and will intervene if we're about to burn the house down. Under this theory, Gaius's testimony was preserved but hidden because full disclosure wasn't appropriate for the time period. Humanity needed to discover space travel, quantum mechanics, genetics, and consciousness research on our own first. Telling us too much too soon would have either caused civilizational collapse, as our religious and social structures couldn't handle the truth, or made us dependent on external guidance rather than developing our own wisdom. The most radical theory comes from a former Tibetan Buddhist monk named Tenzin Norbu, who spent 30 years in meditation before encountering what he initially thought was an enlightenment vision, but later realized was something else. His theory: the beings are not extraterrestrial in the conventional sense. They're not from other planets. They're from other levels of consciousness itself. According to Tenzin, consciousness is primary. It existed before matter, generates matter, and can exist independent of matter. Physical reality is just one frequency of consciousness, one bandwidth in a much larger spectrum. Most humans are tuned only to the physical bandwidth. But through practices like deep meditation or through certain experiences, near death, intense psychedelics, or spontaneous mystical awakening, individuals can temporarily perceive other bandwidths. The beings Gaius and I encountered exist primarily in these other bandwidths, what he calls higher densities of consciousness. They can temporarily manifest in physical form when needed, but their natural state is non-physical. Jesus, according to this theory, was a human who learned to shift his consciousness across these bandwidths. The resurrection was him transitioning from physical to non-physical consciousness while retaining individual identity, and then briefly manifesting back in physical form to demonstrate this was possible. These beings aren't watching us from spaceships. They're watching us from states of awareness that interpenetrate physical reality. They don't travel through space to get here. They shift their consciousness into our bandwidth. They've been here all along, existing in dimensions of reality that most humans can't perceive. Under this framework, the evolution they're trying to guide isn't primarily technological, it's consciousness evolution. They're trying to help humanity develop the perceptual and cognitive abilities to recognize that we exist in a multidimensional reality, that physical death is a transition rather than an ending, that consciousness itself is the fundamental nature of reality. Tenzin believes this is why so many religious and mystical traditions around the world describe similar experiences: encounters with light beings, celestial helpers, angels, devas, bodhisattvas. These aren't different beings, they're the same consciousness operating at higher frequencies perceived through different cultural lenses. I don't know. After 3 years of investigation, I'm not sure I'm closer to understanding than I was when I first read Gaius's testimony. Maybe they're all partially correct. Maybe advanced civilizations do exist on other planets and in other dimensions of consciousness. Maybe Jesus was both a human who achieved consciousness transformation and the subject of an intervention by beings monitoring our development. What I know with certainty is this: Gaius's testimony is authentic. The document dates to the 1st century, the author existed, the events he describes align too perfectly with other accounts, both ancient and modern, to be dismissed. I encountered something in New Mexico
that displayed intelligence, technology, and awareness far beyond human capability. It communicated concepts that have transformed my understanding of reality. There is a pattern throughout human history of contact with non-human intelligence, whether extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional, or something else entirely. This contact has been subtle, careful, and apparently designed to guide rather than control. We are at a critical juncture. Multiple researchers from multiple disciplines using different methodologies have independently reached similar conclusions. The next century will determine whether humanity joins a larger cosmic community or destroys itself through misuse of advanced technology. The truth about Jesus and about human potential generally is far stranger and more hopeful than either traditional religion or materialist science has imagined.
What does all of this mean? If Gaius's testimony is true, if Jesus' resurrection involved intervention by advanced non-human intelligence, how should we think about religion, science, and the nature of reality? This doesn't disprove Christianity or any other faith tradition. It reframes them. Jesus taught love, compassion, forgiveness, unity, teachings that align with what these beings apparently try to cultivate in developing species. His message wasn't wrong. Our interpretation of it was incomplete. Traditional Christianity teaches that Jesus was uniquely divine, that salvation comes only through him, that humans are fundamentally separate from God. But if Gaius's account is accurate, Jesus was demonstrating what all humans can become, not as a unique exception, but as a template. He wasn't saying, "Worship me as the only Son of God." He was saying, "I am showing you what you are, divine consciousness temporarily experiencing physical reality. You can do what I do. You can transcend what I transcend. I am the way because I'm showing you the path, not because I'm the only one who can walk it." This actually makes Christianity more profound, not less. Jesus becomes not a distant savior who does for you what you cannot do for yourself, but an elder brother showing you capabilities you didn't know you possessed. Every miracle he performed was a demonstration of principles: consciousness affecting matter, awareness transcending physical limitation, intention creating reality. He was teaching applied consciousness technology disguised as religion because that was the only framework first-century people could understand. This expands science, not contradicts it. If consciousness can exist independent of physical substrate, if awareness persists beyond death, if intention can influence matter, if non-human intelligence exists in forms our instruments haven't detected, then science has a much larger playing field than currently recognized. Materialism, the belief that only physical matter is real and consciousness is merely an emergent property of brain activity, becomes an incomplete model, useful but limited, like Newtonian physics was useful but incomplete before quantum mechanics revealed a stranger underlying reality. We'd need new instruments, new methodologies, new frameworks to study these phenomena. But that's how science progresses, by expanding to accommodate anomalous data rather than dismissing it because it doesn't fit current paradigms. The beings I encountered used what appeared to be technology, the light, the doorway, the ability to manifest physical form. But it was technology so advanced that it looked like magic to our limited understanding. Arthur C. Clarke's famous observation that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic applies perfectly here. If we accept that we're being monitored and occasionally guided by more advanced intelligence, it raises profound questions about autonomy, development, and our place in the cosmos. Are we truly making our own choices, or are we being subtly manipulated toward predetermined outcomes? The beings suggest we have genuine free will. They guide but don't control. But how can we verify this? What obligations do we have if we're essentially cosmic children being watched over by galactic adults?
Do we owe them gratitude, obedience, or should we assert our independence even if we're not yet fully mature? And most importantly, if the next century is as critical as multiple sources suggest, what specific actions should we take? How do we achieve planetary unity without sacrificing diversity? How do we evolve our consciousness while still honoring our humanity? I don't have answers to these questions, but I know this: ignorance is no longer an option. For thousands of years, humanity could claim we didn't know. We could pretend we were alone, that Earth was the center of creation, that our tribal conflicts and religious divisions were the natural order of things. We can't claim that anymore. The evidence exists, and Gaius's testimony is just one piece among thousands of similar accounts across cultures and centuries. The modern UFO/UAP data is undeniable. Objects performing maneuvers that violate known physics, displaying technology far beyond our capability, clearly under intelligent control. We are being observed. We have been for a very long time. And the observers are waiting to see whether we'll mature enough to join them or destroy ourselves through immature use of increasingly powerful technology. That's the real message of Gaius's testimony. Not that Jesus was an alien, he wasn't. Not that religion is false, it isn't. But that we're part of something much larger than we've imagined. We're one species among many, one expression of consciousness among countless others, one experiment in the galaxy-spanning project of matter learning to know itself. And the experiment hasn't failed yet. We're still here, still developing, still capable of making the choice to evolve rather than destruct. Jesus showed us it's possible. The beings who guided him are showing us it's expected. Now the question is whether we'll rise to meet that expectation or remain trapped in the fear and violence that have characterized most of our history.
You might be wondering, if this testimony is so important, why isn't it front-page news? Why hasn't it changed everything? I tried. After my encounter in New Mexico, I contacted major newspapers, television networks, online platforms. I offered the photographs of Gaius's testimony, my translation, the supporting evidence I'd accumulated. No one would publish it. Not because they didn't believe it was authentic. Several had it independently analyzed and confirmed the document's age and legitimacy. They wouldn't publish it because it was too disruptive, too threatening to established institutions, too likely to cause social chaos. One editor told me bluntly, "Even if everything you're saying is true, we can't print it. We'd be accused of attacking Christianity. We'd face lawsuits. Our advertisers would pull out. And honestly, I don't think society is ready for this conversation." He was probably right. I posted it online. Multiple platforms, detailed threads with all my evidence and translations. Some of the posts went viral briefly, generating heated debate. But they were quickly buried under the endless flood of information that characterizes the modern internet. Algorithms that prioritize engagement over truth pushed it aside in favor of more emotionally volatile content. Most people who encountered it dismissed it as elaborate fiction or religious heresy. A few contacted me privately, sharing their own experiences, their own encounters, their own sense that reality is far stranger than we're told. But we remain a scattered minority, unable to break through the collective denial that protects people from truths too large to comfortably integrate. 6 months ago, I received an email from an address I didn't recognize. No name, just coordinates and a date. I went to those coordinates, a remote location in Peru near the Nazca lines, and I met them again. Not just one being this time, 7. They emerged from that same impossible light, standing in a semicircle around me under the desert stars. They communicated a message I'm still processing. The testimony needed to be hidden for 1,900 years because humanity wasn't ready. Now, it needs to be available, not forced upon people, but findable by those who seek. My role wasn't to convince everyone, it was to ensure the information existed in accessible form for those whose consciousness development had reached the point where they could integrate it. They showed me that humanity is approaching what they call a consciousness bifurcation, a point where two timelines diverge. In one timeline, we achieve the unity and wisdom necessary to join the galactic community. In the other, we fragment further, use our technology to destroy ourselves, and the experiment that is humanity ends. The outcome isn't predetermined. It depends on choices millions of individuals make every day. Choices to operate from fear or love, division or unity, ego or awareness. Releasing Gaius's testimony was one small variable in that equation. Some people would read it and wake up slightly. Others would read it and become more entrenched in their existing beliefs. Most wouldn't read it at all. But it needed to be available, a seed planted in the collective consciousness, waiting for the right conditions to germinate. That's why I'm sharing this now, in this format, through this platform. Not because I expect it to change the world overnight, but because you, whoever you are, reading these words, you were ready to find it. Your consciousness development has reached a point where this information can be integrated rather than rejected. What you do with it is up to you. You can dismiss it as elaborate fiction. That's fine. It will have served its purpose simply by making you think, by introducing possibilities you might not have considered. You can investigate further. Follow the threads I've laid out. Seek your own experiences. The beings communicate that those who genuinely seek contact with open minds and sincere hearts often receive it, though not always in expected ways. Or you can simply sit with it. Let it percolate in your consciousness. Allow it to slowly shift your perspective on who you are, what you're capable of, and what role you might play in humanity's next chapter. All of these responses are valid. All of them serve the larger purpose. The truth doesn't need everyone to believe it simultaneously. It just needs to be available, spreading organically through individual awakening, person by person, slowly building toward the critical mass necessary for collective transformation.
So let me speak to you directly now. Not as Dr. Sarah Castellano, the Vatican archivist, not as a researcher or investigator, but as one human being to another who has touched something beyond our ordinary understanding of reality. You found this for a reason. Not coincidence, not algorithm, not random chance. You found this because some part of you, maybe conscious, maybe deep in your subconscious, has been seeking answers to questions you might not even know how to articulate, seeking confirmation that your intuition about reality being stranger and more magnificent than you've been taught is correct. That intuition is correct. You are more than your physical body, much more. You are consciousness, temporarily experiencing physical reality, learning, growing, evolving towards something far grander than current human language can adequately describe. Jesus knew this. That's why his core teaching was that the kingdom of God is within you. Not in distant heaven, not in future afterlife, but right now, in the deepest nature of your awareness itself. The beings who guided him know this. They exist in states of consciousness that humans are revolving toward, and they're patiently helping us get there, one awakened individual at a time.
You have abilities you haven't accessed, capacities for healing, manifestation, perception, and connection that lie dormant, waiting for you to recognize and activate them. Not superhuman abilities, fully human abilities that most people never develop because they don't know they exist. The beings I encountered communicated something crucial. Fear is the primary obstacle. Fear keeps you small, keeps you operating from survival and competition rather than expansion and cooperation. Every spiritual teacher throughout history has taught this, not because it's nice philosophy, but because it's technical instruction. Fear consciousness operates at a lower frequency that literally limits your perceptual and creative capacities. Love, genuine love, not romantic attachment, but expansive awareness of unity with all existence, operates at a higher frequency that unlocks capabilities fear-based consciousness cannot access. This is why Jesus taught, "Love your enemy." Not because it's morally superior, though it is, but because it's technologically necessary. You cannot evolve into higher consciousness while operating from fear-based tribal hostility. It's not possible. The frequency doesn't match. What I'm asking you to do is simple, but not easy. Start experimenting. Start treating your consciousness as something you can develop, expand, and evolve. Meditation, contemplation, practices that quiet the ego mind and allow deeper awareness to emerge. Notice synchronicities. The beings work through subtle guidance, meaningful coincidences, unexpected encounters, information appearing exactly when you need it. The more you notice this, the more it increases. Question everything, including this. Don't believe me because I said it. Test it. Experiment. See what happens when you operate from love rather than fear. When you treat consciousness as primary rather than emergent. When you live as if your eternal awareness having a temporary human experience rather than a temporary human hoping for eternal existence. And, most importantly, share what you discover. Not by preaching, not by trying to convince people who aren't ready, but simply by being the transformation, by demonstrating in your own life that awakened consciousness produces transformed results. That's how this works. That's how the shift happens, one person at a time, awakening, transforming, demonstrating, inspiring others. Jesus did it. Gaius witnessed it. I've encountered it. And now you know about it. What you do next is up to you. But know this, you are not alone. You have never been alone, and you are far more magnificent than you currently realize.
The Vatican reopened contact with me 3 months ago. Cardinal Benedetti, now 86 years old and officially retired, requested a private meeting. We met in a small cafe in Trastevere, far from official buildings, far from watching eyes. "You've shared the testimony," he said, not a question. "Yes." "And has it changed anything?" I thought about this. For some people, yes. For most, no. The world continues as it was. He nodded slowly. That's why we kept it hidden. Not because we feared the truth destroying faith, but because we knew the truth wouldn't be believed. People need to arrive at transformation organically, through their own journey. Force-feeding them radical truth just produces indigestion. Then why preserve it at all? Because truth has its own time. Seeds remain dormant for years, decades, sometimes centuries, before conditions are right for germination. Gaius's testimony is a seed. You've planted it. Now we wait to see what grows. "They came to you too, didn't they?" I asked. "That's how you knew." That's why you weren't surprised by my report." He smiled, a strange expression combining sadness and wonder. 1971. I was a young priest in Calabria. I saw exactly what Gaius described. Changed everything I believed about God, about Jesus, about the Church's role in the world. He paused. I've spent 50 years trying to figure out how to reconcile what I know with what I'm supposed to teach. Haven't found the answer yet. Maybe there isn't one answer. Maybe we're supposed to live in the tension between what we know and what we can prove, between certainty and mystery. Perhaps. He stood to leave, then turned back. "Dr. Castellano, one more thing. The document, the original, it's no longer in Vault 7. Where is it?" "I don't know. It disappeared 3 weeks ago. No sign of forced entry. No indication of who took it or how, just gone." He walked away, leaving me with a new mystery. But I suspect I know what happened. The beings have their own timing, their own purposes. The testimony served its function. It was found by the person meant to find it, at the time meant for finding. Now it's returned to wherever such things are kept between the times humanity is ready for them. The story doesn't end here. It's ongoing. The experiment continues. The evolution proceeds. And you are part of it now, whether you fully realize it yet or not.
I want to end with one more detail from Gaius's testimony, something I haven't shared yet because I wasn't sure I understood it. In the very last page, written in handwriting even more chaotic than the rest, Gaius recorded something the being communicated to him in those final moments before he disappeared. "Tell them we wait for them among the stars. Tell them death is not the end, but the beginning. Tell them they are loved beyond measure, that they have never been abandoned, that every prayer has been heard even when not answered in expected ways. Tell them the one they call Jesus was the bridge, showing them what they can become. Tell them we are their future, waiting patiently for them to evolve into what we already are. Tell them time is patient but not infinite. They have a choice to make, a path to choose, and the consequences matter more than they yet understand." For 3 years, I didn't know what to do with these words. They felt too grandiose, too religious, too certain in a situation that demands humility. But after my second encounter, after meeting these 7 beings in Peru, I understand differently now. They weren't being grandiose. They were being literally descriptive. We, humanity, are their past. They are our potential future, not different species, but different stages of the same evolutionary journey. They have completed the transformation that we're in the middle of. They've learned to exist as consciousness independent of physical form while retaining individual identity and awareness. And they're waiting for us to join them. Not passively, they're actively guiding, subtly influencing, demonstrating possibilities, planting seeds through teachers like Jesus and countless others across cultures and centuries. But they can't force the transformation. It has to be chosen. It has to be earned through the patient work of consciousness evolution, generation after generation, slowly raising the baseline of awareness until we reach the threshold where the leap becomes possible. We are so close. That's what multiple sources keep emphasizing. We're perhaps only a few generations away from the capability to make that collective leap, to achieve the planetary unity, the wisdom, the consciousness development necessary to graduate from this phase of existence. But we could also fail. We could destroy ourselves through our own technology wielded by still primitive consciousness. We could fragment further, devolve into competing tribes using advanced weapons to ensure mutual destruction. We could waste this opportunity and add Earth to the long list of worlds where the experiment failed. The outcome is not predetermined. It depends on individual choices. Millions of them, billions of them made every day by people who might never know how much their choices matter. Your choice to operate from love or fear, your choice to seek unity or reinforce division, your choice to evolve your consciousness or remain comfortable in limited awareness. These choices matter. They always have, but they matter more now than at any previous point in human history. Because we're at the threshold, and what happens next determines whether humanity joins the galactic community or becomes another cautionary tale of a species that developed powerful technology before developing the wisdom to use it responsibly.
If you've read this far, you're already part of the solution. You're one of the ones seeking, one of the ones ready to expand beyond comfortable limitations, one of the ones willing to consider possibilities that most people dismiss without investigation. The beings don't need you to believe this story. They need you to embody the principles it points toward: love, unity, compassion, consciousness development, evolution beyond fear-based tribalism. Do that, and you're helping shift humanity's trajectory, regardless of whether you ever encounter a light being or find ancient testimonies or have mystical experiences. Do that, and you're living what Jesus demonstrated, what the Buddha taught, what every genuine spiritual teacher across history has pointed toward. Do that, and you're already becoming what they wait for us to become. The resurrection wasn't about one man 2,000 years ago. It was about all humanity, about showing us what we're capable of, about demonstrating that consciousness transcends death and that we are far more than these temporary physical bodies. Gaius witnessed the evidence. I've encountered it directly. Now you've heard the testimony. What you do with it is your choice. It's always been your choice. That's the whole point. Free will, genuine autonomy, real transformation rather than imposed change. Choose wisely. Choose consciously. Choose with awareness of how much your choices matter, not just for your individual life, but for the entire species at this critical juncture. And know that you're not alone in this. Millions of others are waking up, remembering, transforming. We're not there yet, but we're getting closer. And the beings who helped Jesus demonstrate what's possible 2,000 years ago are still here, still guiding, still waiting patiently for us to complete the journey. The invitation stands. It always has. Will you accept it? This story is entirely fictional. It is not intended as disrespect to any religious faith, sacred figure, or spiritual tradition. It is a speculative narrative exploring historical mysteries through the lens of science fiction and alternative history. No claims of factual accuracy are made.